All right, well, let's just have a pleasant little chat about how to become a distinguished club. Now, we were just talking the other day. You hadn't actually heard much about the Distinguished Club program, had you?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so this is good, and feel free to jump in, ask questions as we go through. There we go. All right. So the key thing to remember with the Distinguished Club program is that, as I said the other day, it's not the ribbon or the accolades or the word distinguished that's important. The important thing here is to be sure that your club continues to grow, that people are achieving their educational awards, and you're doing the sorts of things that you need to do to keep the club running properly, which means turning in information to the world headquarters and getting your dues in on time. So the first thing that you have to have for a successful, healthy club is 20 members. It's
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's nice to have more members, but
Oh,
20 is the sweet spot. And the reason is this. Any given week, you can anticipate that 12 members are going to come, about 60%. And you've probably seen this in your clubs over time, is that there's usually a core of people that show up absolutely every single time. Then there are a few members who have a tendency to come every other meeting, or they'll be there for several weeks at a time, but then they have to travel or they have some other obligation. It's not that they're leaving the club, it's just that they can't be there every single meeting. So we anticipate this. 20 members then is going to pretty much guarantee 12 people will show up. If you've got 12 people, you've got enough people to be the Toastmaster, general evaluator, the evaluators, the speakers, some people to do table topics, all the functionary roles. 12 is a really good number to be sure that the roles are all there and you have a full meeting. It actually gets dicey when you've got many more than 20 members, because when you get into 30, 40 members in a club, it's hard for people to get speaking slots, which means that they don't advance in the educational program very quickly. So it's not like you're going to throw those people away, no. But what happens over time through natural attrition, clubs generally find that sweet spot, and they'll stay between 20 and 25 members. And that's a good thing. So we want to always try to get every club up to at least 20 members by the end of the year. Now, if you're way beneath that, then you can grow the club membership by 5 members, and that's going to qualify you then for the Distinguished Club program. So you have to have at least 20, but say you had 12, then by the end of the year, you want to have 17 members. If you've got 6 members, by the end of the year, you want to have 11 members in the club, and that's going to qualify you then for the Distinguished Club program. Does that make sense?
so I have to have 20 members. You lost me with the 6 and the 11.
Yeah. So let me try that again.
Okay,
So the idea is to have 20 members,
right.
and that's the goal. But say that this year you've got 8 members in your club.
Hmm.
So to qualify for the Distinguished Club program, you just have to have a net growth of 5 members. So you want to get to 20 someday, but this year, starting at 8, if you end it with 13, then you've qualified for the Distinguished Club program.
How so? If I'm supposed to have 20 and I only
Well,
have 13?
well again, if
Really bad at math,
no,
I'll tell you right now.
no, if a club has 20 members, they don't have to worry about this at all. They qualify
Right.
for the Distinguished Club program. If they got 29, that doesn't help them. That just means that they're even more likely to be able to achieve their goals in the Distinguished Club program. But for clubs that are struggling or trying to build their membership, instead of having to reach 20, all they have to do is have a net growth of 5 per year. So
I see. Okay, so where our group right now, my group, has 15, I have to have a net growth of 5 to qualify.
Yeah, if you started the year with 15, that would be the beginning of July. Well, was that the case that you had 15?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Then it's actually a moot point for you because you have to either grow by 5 or have 20. Hey, that's the same thing in your case.
Wait, but we only have 15.
You have 15, but so by the end of the year, you have to add 5 members
Uh-huh.
or have 20 members. And if you add 5 to 15, you get 20. So
Okay, so between now and December?
June 30th.
June 30th, we have to find 5 more members if we want to qualify for Distinguished Club.
Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you. Now I get it.
Oh, this confuses a lot of people. That's why they start the presentation with this one.
Okay.
Okay. So it used to be that we had these 2 education tracks, one for leadership, one for communication. And that's the way it's been for decades. This has changed this year. What they've done in the Pathways program is merge the leadership and the communication so that you're not doing them as 2 separate things. You're building skills in both areas by doing the lessons within Pathways. So anybody who is not working out of the legacy manuals at this point can completely ignore this diagram. Now, I know that you have some people that have got CCs in your club. Is anybody in your club working from the old manuals at this point?
Not that I know. I would say no.
No. Okay. And that is to be expected. The Pathways, any new member in the past 2 years came in the Pathways program. So we expect most people to be working Pathways now. Yeah. So we'll talk about that.
Okay.
All right. So for the benefit of the people who are not you, if anyone is still working out of the legacy manuals, you can achieve educational goals by completing those manuals. You can get 2 competent communicators for 1 point. 2 more competent communicators will earn a 2nd point for your club. Then any of the advanced awards, so Advanced Communicator Bronze, Advanced Communicator Silver, or Advanced Communicator Gold. And even in your club, you might ask if one of your legacy members is close to completing that Advanced Communicator Bronze, for example.
Uh-huh.
Maybe they've done a few advanced speeches, and if they do just a few more, they'd be able to achieve that goal for themselves, and of course that would give a point to the club. You
Okay.
can another point by having another Advanced Communication Award, gold, bronze, silver, or gold. You can achieve a point by having any leadership award. So that's Competent Leader, Advanced Leader Bronze, Advanced Leader Silver, or Distinguished Toastmaster. And you can get 1 more point for any leadership award. Now, in the Pathways program.
So just to be clear, because I've only come in on Pathways, that last slide with all those acronyms, that's all the program that's going to go away in June, correct? That's the legacy program?
Yeah, I'm trying to get back to the slide. There we go. Oh, there we are. Okay. Yes, this is all the legacy program.
Okay, so I will pay attention, but it's nothing that I really need to work hard to log into my memory because it's going to go away here in about 8 months.
Well, the key here is that you can still get credit for it this year, but after 8 months, you can never get any credit for these awards again.
Okay, thank
So
you.
You just want to be sure that people in your club are clear on the fact that they can earn any of these things, an ACB, ACS, ALB, ALS, this year, but after this year, all of this goes away, and any progress they've made is going to be lost.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, so Pathways, you earn points pretty much the same way. To get 1 point, you have to have 4 members complete level 1. Now, in the legacy program, you had 2 people having to complete a competent communicator award. That equals 20 speeches between the two of them. To have 4 members complete level 1 in pathways, that's only 16 speeches, right? Because there's only 4 speeches in the first level of a path.
Okay.
So it's actually easier now to earn the points, and it's nicer because you're spreading it out between more members. It's not 2 people rushing ahead to get credit. It's 4 people progressing at a normal pace. You can get a second point then by having 2 members complete level 2, a third point by having 2 different members complete level 2. And one of the things to keep in mind here, if someone happens to choose 2 paths, so, they decide that they're going to do visionary leadership and they're also going to do presentation mastery. If they complete level 1, your club only gets credit for one of those paths from any one member.
Okay.
Okay, so, and again, they're doing this on purpose because they don't want one person to kind of charge ahead and earn all the points for the club. They want to be sure that everyone is advancing at a good clip. And that way, as they say, when the tide rises, all boats float, and everybody achieves their goals. And that's what we're really after. So 4 get their level 1, 2 more people get their level 2, 2 more for level 2. Just 2 members complete level 3, that's another point. And then you can have people shooting ahead. 1 member gets level 4 or level 5, and that's 1 more point for the club. So that's 6 of the 10 points you would have to achieve to be distinguished.
Okay.
Available right there. Now, the other thing you have to do is continually bring in new members. And the reason for that is we anticipate you'll lose 40% of your members every single year. And that's just normal attrition. That's what we expect. 1% of all Toastmasters die every year. And then you've got the people who have a change in job, their children's school hours change. All kinds of things can factor into whether or not they can attend a particular Toastmasters meeting. We know that we're going to lose these people, so we know that we have to bring in 8 members per year. So you get 1 point for the first 4 members, and then a second point for the next 4. And that's your 8 for the year. And of course, you want to keep bringing in as many members as you can, but 20-member club, you anticipate you need 8.
Okay.
Now, you want to be sure that when you have officers, that they're trained and they know their jobs. You've been telling me that's important in your particular club. So you get a point for having 4 of your clubs attend training during each of the 2 training periods. So did you get 4 officers trained this past time?
We got 0 because we didn't find out about the training until 2 days prior, and it was down south.
Right.
But when I called headquarters, they told me there was going to be another training that was going to be announced in November. But I haven't heard anything, and where we're so far north, we kind of need, a heads up.
Yeah. One of the things that you and I will make sure happens this next time is just as we're doing here, we can do training online.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and so we will definitely have officer training, even if I have to do the officer training for you.
Yeah.
We will definitely offer it online, if not live for you.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And I believe that they actually did have online training and you probably didn't hear about it. So that would be our bad at the district.
Okay.
And we'll make sure that we fix that because we want everybody to get training.
Yeah, and we're at such a short window of only 6 months of being the officer, having it in November is only going to give us a month before we have elections again. So I don't know if maybe that's when they're going to announce it for the new. I don't know. But
that's what it is the training window is usually November through February for people who are going to start in January.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Then I will put it in my calendar and make sure to follow up on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And the other thing is to be sure that you get your dues renewal in on time, and you submit your one of your club officer lists on time, right? Yeah, the dues thing, it's really important. People, I don't know, they have this idea that there's some Scrooge McDuck over in Colorado swimming in a big pool of gold coins because Toastmasters is rich, rich, ha, ha, ha. The truth is the money comes in and the money goes out. Toastmasters pays, for example, for all of the travel for the district leaders and the contestants in the international speech contest. So everybody who goes to the international conference who is required to be there gets their travel paid for. That costs a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just, well, and putting on the conference itself, all of the overhead in order to generate the pins and the plaques, the other swag that they generate out there. Of course, you pay for these items individually, but the overhead to keep the staff there and all the people that answer the phones and answer questions now, they all need to be paid for. So when you look at the balance sheet, Toastmasters pulls in the money and they spend that money. They don't have it sitting around. So if we don't get the dues in on time, it actually can severely limit what the international organization is able to do.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be sure you get the officer list on time so that the new officers coming in get the information they need. They get their officers' manuals, get onto the email track at this point because the manuals are all online. But get the email from the international organization so that they can get the training that they need, get the help they need, the support they need, and not find out, 3 months into the job that they actually had these things available if anybody had ever told them.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if this has been the case, but my club just started, I believe it's through PayPal that we can pay online. And I paid online, but I think our treasurer had to move all the money to Toastmasters. But nonetheless, when I went to log into Toastmasters to check my pathway, I was blocked. It said, you haven't paid your dues. It was about 8 days into October, and I had paid at the very end of September.
Yeah.
So the money was there. It just hadn't been moved, I guess. So I contacted the treasurer and said, I'm locked out. Is that normal for them to block us if our dues haven't been paid, or is that a new thing? She seemed surprised, but...
Well, it used to be that you used paper manuals, right?
Uh-huh.
So the only way you would find out that you were blocked for something is if you tried to turn in an education award.
Right, that's what happened, yeah.
Yeah, so now with Pathways, since it's all online and they actually can control your access to Pathways, it doesn't surprise me that a couple of days after the dues were due, you would be locked out. Now, of course, they're going to work with you on that. They're not trying to be punitive, but you do have to pay for the service.
Sure, yeah.
So the actual problem that you had there wasn't with Toastmasters, it was with your treasurer.
Right. Yeah. Apparently the money is collected in PayPal, but she still has to move all of it to Toastmasters, which is fine. I think that's going to light a fire under people to pay their dues. It just seemed that maybe it was a new thing versus an old thing that I was getting locked out.
Yeah.
But if people can't get in, I mean, it's going to make them pay their dues, right?
You would hope so. The other good piece of news, though, is that recently, it was either this year or the previous year, the membership voted to allow individuals to pay their own dues. So you'll be able to pay your dues the way you can go to the Toastmaster store and buy items.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah, right now I can go in as a club officer and pay anybody's dues at any time. I just put it on my own credit card and they can give me cash or what have you. So paying online has always been a thing, or it has been, I guess, for about 10 years. But yeah, now we're going to let individuals go in and pay for themselves. And that should be
Oh,
coming this year.
okay. Because, yeah, we innovated with our club, but we also have to pay $1.60 fee through PayPal. So
Oh,
every, so PayPal's getting some money from us. So our dues are now an additional $1.60. Um,
too bad. You
but
see,
now you're saying that eventually Toastmasters will all just be able to go in there and pay.
right.
Okay.
And you would separately pay your club dues. So
Yeah.
the $45 would go to Toastmasters International, and whatever your club dues, you would just do that as a check or something, however
Oh,
he wants to handle it.
right. That's why I'm not the treasurer. I am not good with numbers. But our treasurer is really good. She's really savvy and got us hooked up and with the PayPal. And now we're just learning to navigate it. So
Hmm. Yeah, one of the things that you have to watch out for with treasurers, a lot of times you have really good people, and they'll do things like pay all of the dues off of their credit card, and they're slow to reimburse themselves.
yeah,
That is something you don't want to see. You want them to take their money and keep the books clean.
yeah. That was why we went with the PayPal approach because yeah, it got convoluted, the last treasurer was wonderful, but same thing. It's like we'd give her money and then she'd, it's just hard to keep track of. You leave Toastmasters and you go back to life and you have all these other obligations and you have money in your pocket. And I'm not saying she squandered it at all. I think if anything, she didn't pay herself was kind of the deal.
Right.
And it gets convoluted quickly. So this new treasurer, I think is really savvy and going to keep it really clean.
Yeah, not paying themselves is probably a bigger problem than anybody trying to embezzle funds.
Yeah.
I have run into a problem. One of my clubs, the president thought it was okay to take our club dues and buy margaritas for 10 of the members. They went out for a little social party. Well, okay. So a club treasury, if people are contributing $5, maybe $10, your club treasury is up to maybe $300 for 6 months. You take people out for margaritas twice, there goes $100.
Right.
You know, and that's not being spent on educational stuff. It's not bringing in new members. It's not. There are 10 people in the club that didn't get to have margaritas or don't want to have margaritas, and
Mm-hmm.
so that is absolutely forbidden to spend your club funds on social gatherings. You can spend club funds for refreshments during a meeting. You can spend it for food at a open house because all of that benefits all the members, or in the case of an open house, you're bringing people in. But the spirit of all this is that you take those club funds and you spend them. So if I bring in $300 this year, I want to spend $300 on these people this year because people don't stay in the club forever. Uh, if you join the club, you stay for 2 years. Nobody ever buys you a pin, ribbons, any sort of recommendation, or doesn't buy any tchotchkes, notebooks, or things from Toastmasters. Then you've just contributed this money, and it's going to be spent on strangers sometime in the future.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want that. No, we want to, if I'm contributing money this year, I want the money to be spent on me. Spent wisely, not squandered, but spent on something that's going to help me in my educational goals. So, so I, I do talk about this stuff with passion, I know. Okay. So here's how it works. If you get 5 out of the 10 points, your club is distinguished. And it's like I said the other day, distinguished means your club has a pulse. You're probably going to survive another year. You're getting some education awards, or you're bringing in members. And you're doing some of what you need to do to be healthy. If you get 7 of the 10 goals, then you're select distinguished, and now that's a little better. You're probably a healthy club at that point. But the fact is, there is no excuse for not being president's distinguished every time. Remember what those goals were. People are achieving, they're completing paths and pathways, right? Completing those levels. You're bringing in enough members to make up for the members you're probably going to lose this year. You're submitting your dues on time, and you're getting the club officer list. None of that is difficult to do, but it's important to do if you want your club to grow and you want it to remain strong. So in one of my clubs, the president said, I think let's be realistic this year. We're going to shoot for 9 out of the 10 goals, and we'll still be president's distinguished. I said, that's crazy. Yeah, let's shoot for all 10.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if the worst thing that'll happen, we'll be disappointed and go back to 9, but all of this is easily done. And in fact, when you sit down and you plan it out, you can get this done typically by December. How do you plan it out? Well, there is a manual. They used to send a hard copy. I think you can only get it online now, which is the Distinguished Club and Club Success Plan. All right. So it explains all of the goals that we just talked about and the rules that you have to follow in order to achieve these things. And then it gives you a template that you fill out to plan exactly how your club is going to achieve these goals. How are you going to bring members in? Well, you could have a open house. When are you going to specifically have an open house? Are you going to do it in November? Sure, we're going to do it November 15th. We're going to cater it, bring in this food from this particular place, or we're going to have a potluck. Everybody's going to sign up. So you plan it out specifically how you're going to hold that open house this particular year, get it onto the calendar so that you know you're going to advertise it and you're going to have a chance to make that a success. You figure out who's going to achieve their educational goals this year. It's not, we should have somebody complete level 1. We say, Becky's only got 3 more speeches. She'll complete level 1. We expect that she can do that by November. So you get really specific about who and when these things are going to get done. When you map it out that way, you can see a path for achieving all 6 of the educational goals, including somebody shooting ahead to level 3, 4, and 5 if you've been keeping up with your educational paths all the way through the year.
That's so easy. I love it. I love plans and systems and goals. And
Yes.
that would just, it puts everybody, well, it just brings the whole group together and helps them individually and helps everybody collaboratively.
Yeah, and what's nice about it is if you say, hey, Becky's gung-ho, she's going to go ahead and get that level 3, if that means that you get a speaking opportunity more often than someone who's not trying to achieve their goals this year, everybody kind of says, hey, that's okay. I'm not as interested in running ahead. Becky's interested in achieving that goal. Let's give her the opportunity. And everybody kind of cheers it on. So that the club benefits and the individuals benefit as well.
Mm-hmm.
What's actually really cool about the club success plan, and it looks like I went over this slide on the previous thing. Oh, well, here, it does let you set additional goals. This is something that Brendan Murphy often talks about, is if you're a distinguished club this year, well, next year you should shoot for being select distinguished. If you're select distinguished, shoot for that president's distinguished. Well, what if your president's distinguished? What are your stretch goals? And you can set goals for reaching out into the community or doing more of the youth leadership programs or the success communications programs in various organizations. So get outside your club. Now, and again, it gives you the strategies for achieving the goals specifically within the year. The other nice thing about the club success plan is that it matches almost perfectly the the report that the area director fills out when they visit your club. So the area director is going to come and ask you, how are things going? Where can you use additional help? If you've got the club success plan, you can go over it with the area director, and they just copy the stuff from your club success plan into their area director report. Their work is done, and they have real assurance that you're going to achieve your goals this year.
Who is the area director?
Your area director could be Elliot, does he say Dabble or DeBill? One or the other.
Is he the one that runs the Arcata group?
Yeah. He is an area director, and he is in your area, so I kind of assume that he is your area director.
Oh, maybe that's why he came to our group?
Yes.
Oh.
That's interesting. And ideally, if he's the area director, he should say, "Hey, I'm your area director." And
he might have. No, he didn't.
Okay.
Not to me, anyways. Anyway, doesn't matter.
It could also be that he wasn't the area director when he came to visit. So that would have been after July 1st anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, Becky, you need to know how to become an area director. And I'm going to share that with you right now. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. You say, "I want to be an area director." And he goes, "Oh, okay. Okay."
What does an area director do?
An area director is responsible for 4 to 6 clubs in a particular area, right? So they're typically, not always, but typically geographically near one another. So you would be responsible for the Arcata Toastmasters, the Lunch Bunch, and Humboldt Bay, for example.
What about the Fortuna group?
If it's located nearby, then yes.
Within 20 miles?
Yeah, for you people up there. Here, when you're in a more urban area, there's over at in San Ramon, there's an AT&T building, and the area consisted of 3 clubs that were in AT&T, so they were all at the same address, and then one other club that was up the street.
Okay.
So yeah, here it's usually clubs that are within 2 miles of each other. Up there, yeah, 20 miles sounds about right. And all you do as an area director is you visit the club, look at what they're doing. The first visit, really, you're just gathering information. You visit the other clubs, watch their meetings, and you're going to pick up some good ideas from visiting all of the other clubs. Now, the next time you visit the club, they're having trouble motivating people for table topics. And you say, I saw at another club that they give a chocolate bar to the best table topic of the day. Maybe you should try that. Mm-hmm. That's how you learn how to be an area director, is by visiting clubs and stealing all their good ideas.
And that's a role that would work towards me becoming a DTM?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, okay. I believe that is still going to be a requirement in the Pathways program, that you serve as an a district officer. I believe that they've actually expanded the list, though. It used to be that you had to be an area director or higher, and there are only 50 people in the district, really, who get to have one of those roles every year. So if you've got 3,000 members, there's no way that everybody could become a DTM. So in Pathways, they're expanding it so that there are more roles available. So you don't have to be specifically an area director to do it. However, area director is fun, and it's an easy role to complete. I'm not saying it's not work. It's just, it's very pleasurable. If you enjoy going to Toastmasters meetings, and you like going to your club, it's even more fun to go to 4 clubs. And
Right.
when I was a division director, I had 20 clubs, and I got to visit all of them twice over the course of the year.
Hmm.
You just plan it out. You like to plan things. You just schedule it on your calendar. I'm going to visit 2 clubs a week.
Do you let them know you're coming?
Oh, yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's never, you never want to spook them. Just drop in. Ooh, because, and you see this, there's a lot of distrust of the district. Oh, the district is going to come with their rules. The district is going to come and tell us that we're not doing things right. And that really isn't what the district is all about. The district is about helping people to keep their clubs strong. And it's not that we come in and we tell people how to do things differently. We give suggestions about things that are working in other clubs. And it's all suggestions that come from experience in
Hmm.
talking with other Toastmasters.
And so just to be clear, because I did look, I think it was either at the Distinguished Toastmasters qualifications, or it might even be part of my visionary, one of my projects. So to become a district officer. So are you saying area, what do you call it? Area director
Yeah.
qualifies as a district, or is it above or is it below a district officer
Now,
position?
area director is the lowest level of a district officer.
Okay, but that still might qualify. You're not sure, but I should
No,
check
no,
and
it definitely does qualify.
oh, yay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds so fun to me to travel around and not only empower, but coach and share information. I think that sounds really fun.
it is. It's a great
Yeah.
deal of fun. So you should be seriously considering that.
So if Elliot's that this year, then I would have to wait for his. How do you uh, qualify, or how do you put your hat in the ring to fit
You
that position?
do just that. You put your head in the ring. You all you have to do is let Ashley Ching know. She is our club growth director.
Mm-hmm.
It's the 3 top offices are district director. That's Kevin Markle this year. The club quality director is the second level. That's Bet Bolhofer. And the club growth director is the third level. That's Ashley Ching. Beneath them are the division directors. So we have divisions through the letter I, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. So that's 9 divisions. Within the divisions, you'll typically have 4 to 6 areas, and those each have an area director underneath them. So all of those people are our district officers.
So is our district like Santa Rosa and up the coast, or is it all the way down from the bay and up the coast? How do we determine our district?
Very, very good question. District 57 is as far south as Fremont and Milpitas. It goes east as far as short of Sacramento, right? So it's all of the East Bay out to Tracy, I think. Maybe not Tracy. Uh, but yeah, sort of sandwiched between San Jose and uh, Sacramento at the south end. Goes up through Oakland, then it expands out to Marin and the coast, and up through the redwood belts of cities like Redding and Ukiah,
Wow, okay.
all the way up to the Oregon border. So it's a fairly large area, but as you can see up there in Division G, uh, geographically rather spread out once you get outside the urban areas. So we have
Right.
a ton of clubs in the city of Oakland, really tightly concentrated. And then as you get further north, things are more spread.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, well, happy to talk about this. You're not going to just discover this on your own,
No. And it's one of those things on the Toastmasters website that it's just elusive. It's like to try and find it there, it just is hard. I don't even think I could find it. Or maybe I did find it, but I don't remember how I found it.
I believe that there is not a map where you can uh, find the districts on the Toastmasters website. I could be wrong about that. I know that Mike Rafferty is a past international director out of Chicago, and he had a whole bunch of online tools that you could use to do things like look up where your district was. And so I think I had to use his tools to actually see a map, etc. Yeah. So no, it's not always easy to find all of these things. Now, beyond the districts, we also have regions. So District 57 is in Region 2.
Okay.
And there are 14 regions internationally. Okay. And all of these clubs spread out all over the world, and your district officers and every club in the district, all of these are resources to help a club to achieve their educational goals. So the training that we do, the conferences, and the TLI, the special programs that we run, programs like the one that we're dealing with right now, all of this, part of the resources that any club can take advantage of to help them achieve their goals in the DCP.
Mm-hmm.
And then your club success plan also has places, again, to write in specific assignments, have a timetable, and track how you're going. And this is really what your executive committee should be doing. You said that you were trying to generate interest in having the officers get together. Usually, the club officer meeting comes down to about 15 minutes of business, and the rest of it is sort of social and dreaming and brainstorming about other cool stuff you can do. But that 15 minutes of business is taking out your club success plan, looking at your progress to date, and being sure that everything is on track. And if things aren't on track, figuring out whether you have to have an additional open house to bring in people, or figuring out whether you have to light a fire under certain members who said that they were going to achieve their goals and pathways, but haven't been actually showing up and doing the speeches. The idea is to track that month by month and not wait until 2 weeks before the end of the year and realize that people have got to give 20 speeches in the next couple of weeks in order for anybody to achieve points in the Distinguished Club program. And again, the goal is not to get the points in this Distinguished Club program. The idea is to have everything running smoothly so that the points are sort of a lovely side effect.
Right. It just helps keep you organized and maintaining momentum.
Right. It's a barometer for how well the club is doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mistake, like I say, to focus on it, because then people will do things like a president who tries to earn all of the education awards, and that really isn't as effective as spreading it out. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So what's in it for you? Healthy clubs mean healthy members. That means that you're healthy as well. So it's just really nice. I wish that you were close enough to come and visit my, any of my 3 clubs, particularly the San Jose Club. We just signed up 3 more members, 29 members. We had been at 36, but we had that natural attrition that took us down to 21 members at the end of the year. We've already got those 8 new members in there. It's just it's got a great energy to it. People are working the program. You can see the different levels of speaker and hear the good evaluations that the new people get, the even more detailed evaluations that the experienced people get. It's just a great feeling to be in a club with that many members that's been going strong for that many years. And that's what I want for you up there.
Mm-hmm.
All of the clubs up there in Division G. So, in order to be a distinguished club, the important thing is that every member in the club has to realize they are responsible for making it a great club. And that's why I pick on you so much, Becky, is that even if nobody else in the club is really gung-ho about this stuff, it only takes one member to get things rolling and be that role model. Then every member jumps in, invites a friend to the meeting. And to the credit of your club members, you told me that many of the members were invited from their supervisors on the job.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's definitely a good thing, is to invite people in, and you tell them, hey, I see that this is an area of growth for you. I know a perfect place for you to do that. Come join Toastmasters.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to every member to be sure that they're working the program and earning the educational awards, that they don't come in with pocket speeches and lose the credit for no reason, really. Most of the speeches in the Pathways program are talk about anything, but you're going to be evaluated. Talk about anything you want, but it has to be researched. Very few of them are like the mentoring program, where you have to talk about a time when you were mentored. Very few of them dictate what the subject has to be.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing one of those general purpose topics, there's no reason that you can't take a speech and apply it to one of those awards. And remind your members, everybody thinks that they have to have a new speech every time. And the truth is, you can work the same speech again and again as long as it matches the particular lesson that you're doing. Now, I've mentioned in the Legacy program, I've finished 7 competent communication manuals, and I started another. The reason I started another is because I wanted to give a speech and get credit, but it didn't match that particular Pathways lesson that I was working on, the mentoring program.
Mm-hmm.
So I just pulled out that manual, and I got credit for it. Will I complete another 8 speeches before the end of the year in that book? I don't know. I'm trying to work my Pathways program. But every time I speak, I make sure that it goes into some manual someplace.
Mm-hmm.
And if you, now that we can look at the entire education plan for a particular path, you can definitely plan out which speech you're going to do when and get the credit for it. So I just don't understand the notion of pocket speeches. I never have understood it, and I especially don't understand it now, where people want to come in and give a speech and not get credit for it. Even you said that some of the members come in and their speeches are short.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you might think, well, then they really don't qualify. Well, there is no such thing as not getting credit for a speech because it was too long or too short or badly researched, etc. When you come in and you give a speech, you get credit for that lesson,
Right.
whether they achieved it or not. And so get the credit. There's no reason to rob yourself of that. And this is kind of the message to the other members. Now, ideally, after they've gotten credit for a couple of crappy speeches, they'll get the idea that, hey, it's not that much work to go ahead and do it well. And by the way, if you do it well, you're going to learn much quicker and
Mm-hmm.
be happier with the results. That's, of course, the follow-on conversation over time. But just getting them up on the pony in writing is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this particular the members I was speaking of, I think he was unprepared. And then the second time he tried to prepare and the nerves kicked in and time seemed really long to him, but then it ended up only being a short speech. But I think you're right. I think he learned that he would be more satisfied if he actually put effort into his speeches. You
Right.
know, I've bombed 2 speeches. My first 2 speeches were perfect, no ums, perfect timing. And then my last 2 just bombed in my eyes. Of course, I got great reviews, but I went over time in each one, and one was technical difficulties. And but anyways, after every one, I always critique myself and want to be better. But sometimes you just can't foresee that, like my technical difficulties put me way over time. But now I know that I need to really practice the technical stuff before I do a speech. So it was a good lesson. Hard to stomach, but it was a good lesson and just makes me more determined. And that's the neat thing about Toastmasters is I also get to not be too hard on myself because that's what Toastmasters is there for, is for me to make mistakes. So.
Yes. This is the safe place to fail. It's not the place where you have to be perfect every time.
Yeah.
If it were the place you have to be perfect every time, nobody'd join.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And trust me, I've been a Toastmaster for 12 years. I'm working on my international speech competition speech. I brought it to my club and I left out, maybe a paragraph, and I came in at 4 minutes and 29 seconds. So I did not qualify for time the first time I delivered the speech.
Mm-hmm.
That's embarrassing. How could that possibly happen? Because I'm human.
Right.
And we're continually learning. You don't get to be an expert, and you don't become the perfect speaker. You just continually build those skills.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead.
That was it.
Oh, okay. Okay, you had that inhale that made me think that you were going to inspire me. That's fine. So yes, and every member must be trained as a club officer, and this is kind of interesting. That you want people to attend training, but there's no reason that you have to be a club officer to be trained as club officers. So anybody is welcome to go to the TLI, and when we do it online, anybody is welcome to show up. Ideally, everybody in the club should know what everybody's job is. And that way, for one thing, you can step in and help, or you can take over if that person leaves the club, but you also can kind of hold their feet to the fire on what they should be doing as a club officer. Yeah. And you want to be sure that you submit the officer list by the deadline. That's the easiest point to get. And so sad when you miss out on that one. But I think at that point this year.
Who's in charge of submitting the officer list?
Be secretary.
Okay. Good.
Secretary doesn't have much to do, but that is the thing.
Okay.
So everybody benefits when you succeed in the club success program, because the distinguished club program. New members come in. When new members join your club, they bring new ideas. When Becky Deans join the club, suddenly it lifts all the boats. And you get new personalities, which is nice because you love the people in your club, but some people are going to talk about their stamp collection time after time. And it's nice to have somebody else have something to talk about. When you have people achieving their educational goals, they become better speakers. And so even if they're still talking about the stamp collection, it's a more interesting speech about stamps. And if you, again, now in Pathways, they blend the leadership with the communication skills. So if you're going through the Pathways program, the evaluations right off the bat are going to improve in your club, because everybody has to do the evaluation lessons during the first level. And your mentorship program is probably going to improve, or you're going to institute one based on the mentorship lessons. So by going through the program, these lessons about leadership didn't just kind of spontaneously come up. Smedley didn't decide, wow, we've got to teach people to be leaders. What was happening was he was starting clubs and they were doing fine, but when he left and he took away his leadership, the clubs were failing. So they introduced the leadership aspect of Toastmasters so that clubs could continue to thrive and not depend on one individual to keep the club running. So by learning the lessons about leadership, you're helping to keep the club strong. And of course, you get recognition in the district, and that's always nice to get another ribbon. And you can be proud of the ribbon that you put on your banner, not because, oh, didn't we get a pretty ribbon, but because what it represents. And it represents hard work and camaraderie and everybody doing a great job. So that's what the ribbon actually means. You started to say something. Mm-hmm.
No, it was the snarky comment about ribbons.
Go for it. Love them.
Oh, no, I should not go for it. It's no.
Well, there's two ways of looking at it. I really like the pins, and if you ever see me with my DTM medal hanging around my neck, I've got a pin for my CC, my AC, ACB, ACS, ACG, and on the other side I've got my ALB, ALS, and DTM pin all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of times I got Triple Crown Awards. That's when you get 3 education awards in a year. So I put those on there. So I'm really proud of the bling, but I'm proud of the bling because of the work that it represents. All right. Yeah. So you can be somebody who really likes shiny objects, and I'm that guy. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. Or you can be a guy who really wants to work on his communications and leadership skills and happens to get bling that goes along with it. Doesn't matter which one is your impetus, you're going to get both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I was thinking I need to get myself a sash for all my new badges for Pathways, like the Girl Scout sash. But that was the snarky comment.
No, absolutely. Well, and even before I earned my DTM, when I was they called it the Lieutenant Governor of Education and Training, the LGET back then, but that's the Club Quality Director now. I wore all of the pins on my lapel, and I did it in order to generate conversation with people. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you want to wear the pins proudly, and you want to. I wear my presentation mastery pin to every Toastmasters meeting now. I have it on my coat isn't here. Fortunately, it's cold now, and I'm not just wearing T-shirts to work, etc. So I've got a jacket, and I have my Toastmasters pins on it. That way, I can generate conversation with non-Toastmasters, but people in the Toastmasters meetings see that presentation mastery pin. It's real pretty, but and they want to get a pin too. I don't blame them. So yeah, it's just a way to generate. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So yay, there we met. Oh my goodness, I talked for an hour. You're such a good sport, Becky.
Well, I talked too, so it wasn't just you yapping, but no, I appreciated this. This was very helpful, and I learned a lot. I continue to learn. There's so much that every time you and I have a conversation, it all kind of lands in files, whereas right now everything's a pile in my mind, and every time we have a conversation I can file it into where it belongs. So I really appreciate it.
Great. Well, Many people will appreciate your contribution. I'm really happy that we had this conversation. I'm going to let you go enjoy your evening, and I'll see you next week.
Wonderful. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.